Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Helpfully Unarmed from the Entitled Parents subreddit. It's been a hot minute since we've been there. And it says, either you give us grandchildren or we're taking you off our will. The title sounds bad. The story is even worse. I never thought I'd be writing a post about my own parents here, but here we are, right? For context, my fiancé and I have been in a relationship for the past 10 years and just recently got engaged. While it's understandable that 10 years might sound a bit too much, we started dating really early and getting married was not a priority for either of us. We actually preferred to focus on our studies and career for a while. She's a civil engineer and I'm a medical student after getting a bachelor's and master's. I do freelancing as a developer to pay for my living expenses. As we've been a couple for a long time, it's quite common for people to ask us when we're getting married and when we're having kids. Well, we are getting married as soon as I finish med school. We decided not to have children a long time ago. And we're still very certain of that decision, as both of us are more career than family orientated. However, since the engagement, our families have started putting more pressure on us to get married soon and have children, even though we told them plenty of times that's not going to happen. My fiancé and I live together and we're completely independent from our families financially. Some time ago, during a video chat, we ended up getting into a heated argument with our families for finally snapping at their ceaseless nagging for grandchildren, and we've been strained ever since. Now our families asked us to meet them for a lunch in family at my parents' house. We don't live in the same city, but it's close enough that we can go there for something like this, and that's when the following situation transpired. We arrived early enough to help out preparing everything for the lunch, and for the next hour or so, things were pretty alright. But after we had lunch and we sat at the coffee table to chat, it's customary here. The room got visibly tense. Our parents, both hers and mine, started a speech about how much they put into us, how much they worked for us, and how much family means to them. I was already sensing some shitty thing coming, but I kept listening. Suddenly they said that during one of their talks, they came to a decision. And if my fiancé and I didn't give them grandchildren, after all they had done for us, we would be cut out of their wills. Their reasoning was this. 1. My brother is a gay man and as of now has no intention of adopting or any alternative to have children, and I was the only option on continuing the family. He was not there and is as mortified as I am. 2. She is the oldest sister. Her younger sister is still in high school and thus must set an example by having a family and continuing the family. Now, if that's not psychotic, I have no clue what is. We quickly looked between ourselves and immediately left their house. We haven't spoken to them since, but as far as we're aware, we're disowned by now. I never thought I would have to go through that, just because I don't want to have children. But it just shows how much entitlement they think they have. Cheers. Edit. I did not expect this to grow so much in just a few hours. Thank you everyone for the replies. Sadly, I don't think I'll be able to respond to everyone, so I'll just clear a few things here. My fiancé and I have absolutely no interest in their inheritance. We've been fine on our own for a long time and we can take care of ourselves. Thus, we have absolutely no intention of contesting their will. We don't need that money and we don't want it. I only posted this here due to the absurdity of their actions. We've decided to cut contact with them and uninvited them from our wedding. My brother is giving us full support on this, and as he is my best man, this already means the world to me. It's regrettable that it came to this outcome, but we are not going to let them run our lives. Some people asked us why we don't want to have kids. There's a few reasons for that, especially the fact that we're both extremely focused on our careers. Having a child is a responsibility to raise someone and give them the affection, lessons, and time needed. Neither of us want to go through that just to birth someone. Also, we have firm beliefs that the world already has enough people without us putting someone else on it. Lastly, neither of us really likes kids. As bad as that might sound, we have no intention of ever giving birth to a child. Holy shit, they gave you an ultimatum on having kids. How wild is that? And it wasn't just one set of parents, it was both. They discussed this and no one thought this is a batshit idea. To be fair, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that situation when you uninvited them from the wedding. I bet you it was very much shock Pikachu face, but Trickster Trio says best thing to do now is act like that money doesn't exist. Now you know it comes with strings and that they use it to try and control you. Theoretically, if you did have a kid, what's stopping them from using the inheritance as a tool to raise it the way they want you to? Exactly. Rescind their power. If you're ever in a position where they try that shit again, the correct response is to smile and say, "We understand, it's your money. Don't worry, we can take care of ourselves." What happens after that is on them, but they at least know you can't be bribed or guilted. Drago replies to that one saying, plot twist, they decide to have kids but ban the grandparents from their lives. Whew. It's a good point though, isn't it? You know, if they ever did decide to have children, it sounds like very much they're not going to, but if they did for whatever reason, can you imagine what those sets of parents would be like about it? Shit. The frozen food section says, good God, the mental gymnastics of this move are insane. Imagine if you weren't financially independent. Also, do they not realize the cost of a kid, especially in this day and age? By just not having children, you and your wife will likely save more money than they would have left you in their inheritances anyway. That's a good point, actually. Those little goblins are expensive. Brain-eating alien says that's awful. They gave you a fucking intervention to have kids or else. What the actual fuck? Listen, I have 2 kids. I love kids, but it's hella difficult to be a parent. Also, while I tease my kids about giving me grandchildren someday, like honey, please put your athletic cup on before hockey because mummy would like grandchildren at some point, I have actually explicitly told my kids that it's fine if they don't choose to have kids. No one should parent who doesn't want to, is ambivalent, or knows for sure they value work over raising kids. Leopard Eater says, please tell me that you cut them both off. Also, in 10 years' time, when you're both absolutely loaded with cash from your hard work, good jobs, and no children, do not spend a cent on either of them. They seem to have made a fatal error here. They've forgotten that they're going to get old. Then they'll need medical care, possibly a nursing home. Guess who will need to spend their inheritance then? Meanwhile, you two won't need to contribute a cent or lift a finger. P.S. Speaking from personal experience here. Now my mother is all alone, clutching at a pile of inheritance that she'd hoped to control me with, and realizing that it will only purchase her modest nursing care. OP comes in with an update and it says, I did not expect to be back so soon, but here we are. About a month ago, my fiance and I posted here about how both of our parents decided to threaten us to be taken off their will if we did not give them grandchildren, which we won't be. Anyhow, they struck again and my fiance is really fuming with rage now and wants to share the situation with you all. There are some points that will need clarification and I'll try to make them along the way. First, as we mentioned in our last post, due to the absurdity of the situation our parents were imposing on us, we felt that we do not want them at our wedding. Thus, we rescinded their invitation as a whole. My brother is my best man and he supports us wholeheartedly. Now, we get to the point of the post. After we left my parents' home that day, we had absolutely zero contact with them. They made their decision and we made ours. We thought that was going to be it. Now, one thing that needs to be clarified. Our wedding was planned to be happening in October 17th. However, due to the pandemic outbreak, these large gatherings of people were completely prohibited, on my region at least. But thankfully, the venue we had acquired is run by the most lovely administrators. As soon as the outbreak started, they contacted us and gave us every assistance needed with rescheduling. Thus, we rescheduled our wedding to 2021, in the same month, as the situation is still uncertain. That can change, but shouldn't for the time being. We aren't really bothered by it as we understand the situation is very dire, and we don't mind waiting for a time which everyone will be safe. Possibly. This morning, while I was studying for some exams I'll be having at school, my fiance got a call by the venue administrator asking why did we want to cancel our wedding. Obviously, that was very strange and confusing to us. My fiance let him know that we had no desire to cancel our wedding and further ask what that was about. Apparently, my fiance's parents called the venue on our behalf, telling them that we no longer wanted to rent the place as we'd no longer be getting married. Now, Let me explain why the venue was leaning on accepting this situation. In my country, our IDs carry not only our ID and social security equivalent number, but also the name of the parents. And to rent a venue, you need to provide your ID for them as a bureaucracy requirement. I don't know if that's how it works everywhere, so I wanted to make it clear. Apparently, they wanted to take advantage of that fact and try to dupe the venue to cancel our wedding. Luckily, the administrator is quite smart and saw that on our sheet, needed for rental, there is only 2 names and numbers for contact if we can't be reached. One is my brother, and the other is my fiance's best friend. At the time we booked the place, we were already in a strained relationship with our parents, so neither of us put them as a contact. Thankfully, the administrator actually paid attention to that and took the care and time to reach out to us. Otherwise, we might not only lose our special date, but also all of our deposit and dream venue. I'll be honest in saying that I never expected that kind of behavior from anyone in our families, but alas, it seems I was wrong. Anyhow, now my fiancée is letting out fumes and I'm trying to calm her down. I already sent a contact to her parents, and mine as we're sure they're in this together, for them to never try and meddle in our lives again. My brother is angry as we are, and he just told me that he was heading to their house to tear them a new one. I don't even know how to feel right now. I'm crestfallen if anything. I never expected or wanted things to be this way, but neither of us will go back on our decision of not having children. Truth be told, I already have the papers for sterilization ready. I just hope that one day they do see that their entitlement just lost them their son and daughter, or because grandchildren that will never exist. Cheers. Edit. Thank you for all the nice replies. We really appreciate it. We just spent the whole afternoon calling all our services, making sure to create methods so this never happens again. It's taken care of, and thank you for all the advice. I don't really know what my brother told him as he went from there to his work. I did get a text from them complaining that we released our rabid dog on them, which is amusing to be honest, as my brother is a very calm person. We won't contact them again. Once more, thank you for all the kind words. Second edit, and we're really thankful for all the replies. We did decide on passwords with all of our contacts and shouldn't have any further problems. But on that note, for those who asked, our parents didn't give us a dime to pay for our wedding. We worked ourselves and paid for every little thing. They have absolutely no right over it. I did mention this on the previous post. We don't want their money. Neither do we need it. We're just sharing and venting our frustration. Anyhow, thank you all for the lovely replies and awards. Cheers. Richard Anderson RSOP, they said, you keep saying our parents. Is it both sets of parents or just your fiancés? Or are you also brother and sister, which makes the story become even crazier? Lol. Opie says, yeah. This one I should answer personally. I meant both sets of parents. While her parents called the venue, mine were also involved. OP on him and his fiancée being cut from the will. He said, hey there. Just saw the notice and actually wanted to reply here. As we mentioned, we never wanted our parents' money, even if they did keep us on their will. On my part, we'd probably donate it to charity. On my fiance's part, she would give it all to her sister. We don't need it, neither does my brother. We didn't cut them because of the will. We cut them because they're trying to control our lives. That is not something we will accept. Just to clear things up, we support ourselves and we've been fine ever since leaving our parents' home. We paid for everything with our own money, as we work from even before leaving their house to college. Also, education in my country is tax funded, so we don't have debts, or did we need to pay for it at all? I understand your point of view, and just wanted to clear things up. The inheritance was never the reason our relationship was strained, and it wasn't the reason for us to cut them out of our lives. That is absolutely wild, and it's like 2 sets of parents talking about this together, and neither set is like, this is fucked up. That's what I find absolutely wild about it. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. This one's from Mark Weston, and it's from a subreddit called Harrisonburg, which I assume is like a state. Let me just go on there and have a quick looky. Kind of looks like it. And it says, need a fake kid to piss off my wife. It's a random title, I know. My wife and I are watching Elf together. And we saw the part where Buddy, Will Ferrell's real dad, James Caan, tells his wife about Buddy. And his wife gets excited about this surprise adult kid that pops into their life from a time before they knew each other. I point out to my wife that it's a little unbelievable that she would immediately be on board. I then commented that she, my wife, would actually be mad at me in this situation, even if I genuinely did not know this kid existed and it was conceived before I had met her. She denies it, but I know my wife. We're in our early 40s and have been married for 10 years, together for 12. So I need a 20-ish kid to knock on the door and tell me they're my kid, and they just wanted to meet me. Gotta be convincing and really talk about how your mum and I were once really happy before she died of something tragic. Dealer's choice. Job pays $100. Gender, race, etc. don't matter, so as long as you can pass for early 20s. Shouldn't take more than an hour of conversation. Then you get a call or something and have to leave. Want to do this soon after the new year. You come up with a backstory and I'll play along. I'll give you a little info up front after you take the job. Edit, holy cow, have several interested potential fake offspring. I'm no longer taking applications. Did not expect so many willing people. I'll post a winning candidate in the coming days. Edit 2, it looks like I not only have a potential fake kid, but the kid could actually pass as genetically me. I'll post an update post after the first week of January. Hopefully, not from a shelter. Oh dear. Someone said to OP, this sounds like a bad idea, but please follow up once you go through with it. OP said, worst case scenario. Okay, yeah, this could go badly, but sometimes being right in marriage is worth it. Another user says, you should hire every single commenter here and have a whole week where every day another couple new kids show up. Another one says, why do I see in a couple of weeks a post going, my wife kicked me out? What cheap in is best? OP says, I wouldn't have the courage to post that here, but you might see an "Am I the arsehole" here along those lines. So, OP did come in with their update to tell us what happened. They said, first off, I am still married and my wife thoroughly enjoyed the prank. I didn't even have to sleep on the couch. So the very dramatic naysayers, one of which compared my prank to spousal abuse, several diagnosed me with a number of mental illnesses, and at least as many said I was childish and cruel. To you I say, you're probably right. However, nah, boo-boo, stick your head in doo-doo. We've been married a decade. We've known each other well enough to know what's over the line and what's funny. That said, it was harder than I thought to secure a fake child. Sure, I had a large number of interested parties and even a couple of fabulous candidates, one of which actually looked enough like me that I started wondering if one of you got to my wife and were pulling the same Ultima Uno reverse card on my prank. Unfortunately, interested and committed are two very different things. Multiple potential sons and daughters made it to the planning stage, and one found one reason or another to bail out. Let me be clear, I do not blame these folks at all. I don't think I'd have the courage to send the first DM, let alone actually go through the prank orchestrated by a complete stranger. But I did find a suitable actor with the courage to come through, and I still think it was money well spent. So here's a synopsis of how it played out. No, there's not a video. Saturday afternoon, my doorbell rang. My dog lost his mind, as he is wont to do, and my wife answered the door since I had pretended to take a call moments earlier. My son, looking about 20 to 25, taller and better looking than I, asked if I was home. My wife motioned to me. I conveniently just ended my fake phone call, and I came to the door. My son, who even shared my first name, his idea not mine, said he had something kind of strange to talk to me about. I asked if he wanted to come in, which literally almost blew the whole thing because I would sooner saw off my own foot than invite people into my house. But my wife didn't think much of it. We came into the living room and I offered him a drink. He declined. My son is an excellent actor, by the way. He would later say it was the anxiety of the situation and not wanting to mess up that made his nervous demeanor so convincing. This is from memory, but it's pretty much everything. I'll let my son chime in with details should he feel like outing himself. Do you remember old ex-girlfriend I mentioned at least once in my 10-year marriage in front of my wife? I replied, yeah. He said, that's my mother. OP said, it was my wife who reacted first with a, oh no way. I looked at her, feigning ignorance, and then back at my son and said, is she okay? He said, yeah, she's fine, but that's not why I'm here. My wife was nearly busting out of her chair, totally engrossed and completely consumed with two strong theories. One, her husband had a long-lost son, and more importantly, 2, her husband hadn't figured it out yet, that he has a long-lost son. So I say, out with it, kid. What's going on? He said, I'm 22 years old. My wife's eyes essentially bugged out of her head, having now confirmed her theories in her mind. She looks at me, seemingly annoyed that I hadn't put these obvious puzzle pieces together, and interrupts my fake kid. Nearly laughed, but I held it together. I think he's telling you that he thinks you're his father. My acting is not so great, but I gave it a shot with, wait, what? My look of shock could use some work, but it played for the audience. My son looked at me. She's right. And I'm not here to ask for anything. In fact, I don't have a lot of time to stay, but I just wanted to meet you and maybe exchange numbers? Opie said, this is a lot to take in. I knew your mother a long time ago and she never said, I didn't know. Him, and I'm paraphrasing because this kid deserves an Oscar, she never told you. She only told me on Christmas morning. She didn't say anything bad about you, just that it was over and she was already dating my dad when she found out she was pregnant with me. I said, wait, does your dad know? He said, of course, and I've always known he wasn't my biological father. He's a great dad, but lately I've been wondering who my real father was, so I asked Mum and she told me. I said, wow. I freely admit, I had the easy part. My wife not saying anything and just taking it all in. Not much else to tell in terms of the production. We exchanged numbers, then got his own fake phone call reminding him he was late for something or other, and I walked him out. The rest of the production was just my wife and I. I came back to the living room doing my best bewildered act. We talked about it, covered things like paternity tests, etc. And it turns out I was way wrong. My wife wasn't mad, miffed, or even slightly annoyed. She was full on amazed, excited, and entertained by the whole thing. I waited a few hours before I fessed up, but before I did, she kept saying how cool it was that I might have a son. And then when I told her it was all a bullshit lie I made up to prove a point, she laughed. A lot. I can't decide what amused her more, the effort I put into the ruse or the fact that I ended up proving her right in the process. Here are a couple of gems from wife after I told her the truth. Where the hell did you find that guy? I'm glad your son wasn't a serial killer. I might have been mad if he came here looking for money. Next time you can save $100 and just assume you were wrong. You know I'm going to get you back, right? That last one has me a little worried. Holy moly, that is some commitment. And I'd be worried about what your wife's going to do to you, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.